Welcome to Crunch Time Live, Week 5 edition. I'm Santiago Casanova. I'm here with my co-host, Matt Ward, at PsychWorkFF on Twitter. How are you doing, Matt?
Good, man. Doing great. Yeah,
Awesome. You ready to give the people what they want?
of course. Yeah, always.
Perfect. Let's start with some player news. You just dropped a bomb on me, so we can start with that.
Yeah, I just got an update from Sleeper that Devonte Parker was listed out, and check the source real quick. It's from Schefter, so that's it. Like 8 minutes ago, no Devonte Parker.
Devonte Parker is out, folks. Like that makes the Gesicki a very interesting option in my opinion because he's the only capable pass catcher in that plays right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they don't even really haven't been using anybody out of the backfield for checkdowns either. It's been really all Gasecki in the short yardage, and now it's going to be all him everywhere.
For sure. I mean, it's that Miami team is gonna have a hard time. I think against the Patriots, it's not gonna be easy, especially like the history they have. But now Gesicki becomes a very interesting fantasy option. I also don't hate Brissett just because he has Gesicki as an option, but don't start him. I mean, only in Superflex.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you might be able to get a top 24 week out of him for sure. And so if you want to roll with him as a QB2 somewhere, that's really the only option. Otherwise, like, yeah, don't get cute with Jacoby.
Agree, 100%. Just for the people that are watching on Twitter, before we start the question segment, I want to remind you that if you want to ask your own questions, go do it on the YouTube stream. For some reason, I do not get the Twitter comments live on the screen. So if you have any start set questions, go on the YouTube stream. Oh, we got a fan from the YouTube stream, actually. Longtime fan. Love you guys. We love you too, Nick.
Yeah, Nick, I
Thanks for
love you,
joining.
buddy.
Anyway, any other breaking news? Maybe not so breaking, but Gronk is out, Julio is out. Keep them out of your lineups. If you put them in tentatively, don't. Also, George Kittle has been placed on injured reserve yesterday, so
Yeah.
he's going to be out for at least 3 games. Adjust accordingly. Get yourself a backup. Who would you like try to roster, stream off the waiver wire to replace Kittle?
I like right now. I mean, in my leagues, I'm seeing a lot of like Max Williams, Ty Conklin available still. I really like those guys. I like the target share that they've been getting. Kirk Cousins has not been the most efficient as far as what we're used to seeing from him, but I mean, Max Williams in Arizona, every pass catcher there has high upside viability with Kyler playing the way that he is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's just they're all eating. AJ Green,
Yeah,
Rondell
yeah,
Moore, the rusty vets and the rookies both are eating aside from the
yeah.
studs already.
And Chase Edmonds and James Conner just like trading back-to-back weeks of RB1 performances. Like, so that offense is rolling, and I want all parts of it, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean they are what with the I think that backfield is exactly what we thought it was going to be. Chase
yep.
Edmonds catching passes and James Conner getting most of the goal line touches. So they both have viability in their own ways. Connor's more volatile, so it's harder to trust them. But yeah, I mean they're both that entire offense just firing on all cylinders.
Right, yeah. I like touchdown volatility, obviously, it's unpredictable, but if they're just going to live in the red zone, then yeah, it keeps Connor's upside very realistic.
Sure, for sure. It always has been there, like even
Hmm.
as a late round pick. Anyway, another big piece of news, I guess, is AJ Brown is confirmed to be playing. Joe Mixon is expected to play, and so is Antonio Gibson. Those are very dangerous plays, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm personally sitting Mixon if I have even a decent guy like, say, Connor. I'd rather have Connor than Mixon this week because limited Mixon is worse than regular Mixon, and we all know how I feel about Mixon. So,
And regular Mixon isn't that good.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
So take away his volume and his already bad efficiency, bring it all a little bit down. Yeah, it's not great. All right, we have a question that is good for the player news segment. what do we think about the Cook situation right now? Do we think he's going to be super limited? And if so, is Madison or Debo or Deontay they play? Oh, interesting. Okay, this is a loaded question. Let's just start with the Cook situation. You told me you're not trusting him this week, correct?
Yeah, I'm not feeling great about it, to be honest. Actually, yeah, I was saying earlier, right before we started, I have Cook on a team that I put on the bench now. I think Madison's a fair enough flex play. Like, I'm sure Cook's going to see some snaps to draw some, assignments towards him. But yeah, he's not somebody that I'm trusting in my lineups this week.
For sure.
In
And
fact, I
regarding
rolled. Oh, sorry. Yeah. In fact,
no,
I
go
rolled
ahead, go ahead.
James Conner in that
Oh,
position.
there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and regarding like the start set question, I don't know if it's like pick one or pick two, but I would definitely go Debo over
Yeah.
both Madison and Deontay. By the way,
hmm
Charles.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right now. Yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, I think Madison will have some flex upside, especially if that like limited situation with Cook is more overblown than we know. And if he only sees 15, 16% of the snaps, like that's when Madison eats, is when he's allowed to be on the field for more than half of the game.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so out of those three, I would play Debo, and I think Matt agrees. So
Yeah,
let's go with that.
absolutely.
Okay, so we'll go back to player news once the official designations for the later games drop. But for now, let's send your questions in. Start set questions, live last minute decisions. Remember, if you're on Twitter, you have to go on the YouTube live stream to ask questions because Twitter does not support comments right now. But anyway, let's start with Alejandro. Daniel Jones or Tannehill, Elijah Mitchell or Jamal Williams, full PPR.
Wow.
I'll go first, I suppose, on the first
Yep.
question. I'm running with Tannehill. He got AJ Brown back this week and playing the Jacksonville defense. I mean, it's just too good to pass up on.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely with Tannehill there. I mean, I wrote about Jones in that weekly weigh-in as I'm adding him to a lot of rosters this week. Like that's, but I'm not starting him over Tannehill in those positions. AJ Brown returning. I mean, I know Tanny hasn't been the most efficient as well, but I think that's turnaround's coming. It's Jacksonville's just way too easy to throw against.
Exactly. Also, like he gets those little red zone rushing TDs in, so that's always a nice little upside. It might not be Daniel Jones's rushing upside, but Tannehill's athletic too, so he'll get you those eventual touchdowns. Now for the second question, I do not trust Kyle Shanahan above anyone else. Like he's probably the person I trust least in professional football. So I cannot trust Elijah Mitchell for a solid role. Jamal Williams, on the other hand, has been trustworthy this season. Has been not home run hitter, but just solid all the time. And he catches passes from Goff, who has been surprisingly happy to throw through RB. So Williams is my pick here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there too. That whole San Francisco backfield is just a mess. And Williams and Swift, I think, have both been limited this week in practice, but are both expected to play.
Yep.
And if Swift is limited as he was in the week before, yeah, the play is Jamal Williams there.
I agree. So we agree once more. Tannehill
Yeah.
and Jamal. There you go, Alejandro. Good luck. Now, let's go with Michael Schissel, my guy. You think Pollard gets more of that first few weeks type of role with Zeke supposedly banged up? What do you think?
I mean, I've been flexing Tony Pollard all year, to be honest, and that's not going to change for me in those particular lineups where I have kind of like a little less depth on my dynasty teams. But I don't think like the role is just going to switch over with, not in this game anyway. Um, Cowboys are going to throw against the Giants, and that I think that's just a fact. Like, he might be like get a few more receptions, especially with Zeke supposedly hurt. But I haven't seen anything about Zeke being limited or any of his snaps coming down. And with the way that he's been eating, I just feel like McCarthy's going to just keep feeding the horse.
Yeah. I would have to agree. Although I do think like if you are in a tough spot for running back, it definitely makes me feel better about starting Pollard.
Yeah.
than it would in the past. But you're probably gonna be flexing Pollard anyway, so it's just to make you feel better. It's not gonna help your decision. So Pollard is it's a mid to low range flex play, and you should feel okay with it, I think.
Yeah, his floor has been like 9 points, and like that's good enough for me from my RB3 or like my flex when I'm
Exactly,
got some banged up wide receivers or I'm missing Kittle. Like so,
for
yeah,
sure.
and I mean there definitely could be a more increased role. But I like yeah, I still think it's Zeke's show. I do think the Cowboys are going to pass a lot today, though.
Oh yeah. Do you think we get a repeat from that Week 1 performance against
Yeah,
Tampa with a
I'm almost
76?
I'm almost thinking like maybe not so much with Daniel Jones on the other side, like
Yeah, yeah,
but
likely
yeah, I do think that they're going to get over 35 pass attempts today.
for sure. All right, let's get to this next question from my guy Nick. Daniel Jones or Justin Fields in 6 point touchdowns. That
6 point passing.
does make it more interesting because the rushing touchdowns that Daniel Jones might get are not do not hold as much weight as they would normally. But it's a tough decision. What do you think?
Hmm. I'm gonna actually. That's a good question. Uh, 6 point passing TDs too.
Yo, if actually
Because
like
I
thinking
feel
about
like
it,
they have similar rushing upside right now. Like Fields
sure.
has not been showing the athleticism that he was touted for and entering the league.
The problem is, do we think Matt Nagy or whoever's calling plays this week is going
Bill
to scheme
Lazar,
for that?
yeah,
Is going
yeah,
that's a problem.
absolutely, yeah. And again, like Dallas's defense is really underrated, especially in the secondary. They've had 2 interceptions in every game this season. Like that secondary is nasty. And if I'm not sure, like, but I'm pretty sure they're without Shepard and Slayton again. So it'll be
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Kadarius Toney against who has actually been the best secondary in the NFL this year. So as far as like a turnover perspective, right? So it's
Sure,
pretty
sure.
easy for them to key in on that guy. I don't know if those passing touchdowns will come from Jones. I think I like Fields here because the rushing upside is similar to me.
Interesting, interesting. I personally like Jones just because he is not a rookie, and rookie
Right.
quarterbacks are not my favorite to roster and to start consistently. My pick is Jones here, and your pick is Fields, correct?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with Fields today. I'm pretty high on that Dallas defense though. I'm gonna say that. Like I've got them starting in a
That's
lot
true.
of
That's
my
true.
my defensive start spots and I've picked up quite a few of their IDP players in our league. Like I'm feeling pretty good about that Dallas defense today.
All right. So I think, Nick, it comes down. How do you feel about the Dallas defense? Do you think they're legit? If you do, start Fields. If you don't, start Daniel Jones. We're not playing against each other this week, so I can give you that advice in good faith.
And I
All
go, I
right.
guess to finish that on the other side too. Like
Go ahead.
I'm not sold on the Raiders. Like I'll say that as well.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question from Case. Trey Lance or Heineke this week? I can tell you this without hesitation. I'm going with Trey Lance. I know I just went on my rant about rookie QBs and everything, but
Yeah.
Heineke is in for a tough ride, I think, right
Oh yeah.
now. And Trey Lance, they do lose Kittle, but they're doing. I mean, their matchup is better, and I think Trey Lance also has that rushing upside that Heineke does not. So I mean, even if it's not rushing upside, it's rushing floor at the worst.
Right.
So I don't hate it. That's my pick.
Yeah, I'm sticking with you on that one. I mean, I'm a little biased being a Saints fan, but we were talking about that defense before
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast kicked off too, and it's no. I mean, yeah, they lost to the Giants last week in overtime, but a lot of that had to do with their inability to stop Saquon's receiving output, and with Gibson banged up, with J.D. McKissick being one of the only options outside Terry, like I think New Orleans will be able to key in on those players pretty easily. Yeah,
Yeah. Also, Cam Sims and Diami Brown are out, so
yeah, like that's what I mean. Literally, only JD and
yeah,
Terry.
yeah. Their
Yeah,
lackluster weapons just got even worse. Like they lose their average weapons. So I mean, you tell me. I'm going with Trey Lance
Yeah,
case. So.
me as well. I mean, that Cardinals defense is nasty as well. But I like the rushing floor, I guess,
Exactly.
is
Might
it
not be outside, but it's floor for
right.
sure.
But yeah. So, and I mean, and he showed that alone in his half a game last week. That rushing floor is for real.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So good luck, case. We got a thank you. So good luck with that, Nick.
Oh yeah, man. I hope you win your matchup.
Now let's go with Sam. Hello. Pick two from Cooks, Devonta, Mooney, and Tony. All right. Devonta
Standard.
Smith, I assume it is
Yeah.
standard scoring. Yeah, that makes it interesting. So I'm assuming Devonta Smith. And Brand, I can tell you right now, I'm locking in Brandon Cooks, and then I'm picking out of the other three the second guy.
Agreed.
Brandon Cooks should be on your roster if you're considering it. He's that number one target hog in Houston, so lock him in. What about the other three, man?
I mean, I was just pretty high on Fields, but I think I'm still going to go with Devonte Smith here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that is like the Eagles, Devonte Smith, that's who I want. I want Brandon Cooks and Smith in my standard scoring.
Yeah, I think I agree for sure. Mooney had like a huge game last week, but I think it was mostly luck. I don't want to take anything away from him or Fields, but out
I'm
of
yeah.
we're chasing points at this point.
Right.
So yeah, I have to agree with Matt. I'm going Cooks and Devonta Smith. I've seen some Tony love on Twitter recently,
Yep.
but until he proves me wrong, I'm not starting him. So Cooks and Devonta it is.
I will say I understand the appeal for Tony, especially like mentioning how he will be the number two, I guess, receiver beside Galladay there. But I need more than one game, and even that one game, it's like the targets were encouraging, like the volume was encouraging, but that was in a shootout or a semi shootout against New Orleans in overtime. There was extended plays for him to have. It's not necessarily being taken into consideration that he played an extra quarter as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So I want to see him just like produce that volume regularly.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, that's our answer, Sam.
And
Cooks and
and
Devon.
if you haven't seen it, it's pretty hilarious. Go check out the Houston Texans team receiving stats. Like it's one of the most
Yeah.
hilarious things you'll ever see.
Yeah. All right, Sam. There you go. Good luck. You're welcome. All right, let's go with Big Will, one of the Broto patrons, longtime patron. Great guy. Good morning. Sun is out. Do I start Juju, Mooney, or Ayuk as my wide receiver 3? Now this one's interesting. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Ayuk is just oh man, it's so hard to play him. But now
So
that
hard.
Kittle is out, he becomes enticing again. So I don't know. Personally, I think I would start Juju over Mooney and Ayuk. What are your thoughts here?
Oh man, he's been burning me all season, but he's such a favorite player of mine, and I've trusted in his talent so much. Like with Kittle out and Shanahan game planning with Lance to be in at quarterback all week, I'm gonna roll with Ayuk one more. I'm gonna do it one more week. Like I'm gonna do it one more week. I've I have appeal for Mooney and Juju over him. Like this is a little bit of bias speaking, but with Kittle out, and I like that game is gonna have 60 points scored, and yeah, I
The
want to
only
roll with
thing
Ayuk
that
one more
worries
week.
me there, I think, might be the Arizona defense. Like, how do we expect them to perform against the rookie QB Lance and Kittle-less San Francisco 49ers? That's my only concern.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand that. I don't want to. I don't want to retrocede, but yeah, like
No, for
I
sure.
guess my point would be, it is if you've trusted in Ayuk's talent this entire time, and you've been like rolling him out in your lineups regardless, now is the week to keep doing so.
That's true. That's true.
That's the point that I'm trying to make, I guess.
For sure. So
Yeah.
there you go, Will. You got both points of view, so you can make your own decision going forward. Well, who convinced you more? That's what matters at the end of the day. So good luck with that. Hopefully, you get enough inspiration to make that decision. And just as a reminder for all the people watching on Twitter, I cannot see Twitter comments, unfortunately. So if you want to ask questions, go to the YouTube live stream. I left it as a comment on this, as a tweet comment on this. There's a link. So you can click on that and ask questions on the YouTube live stream. Anyway, let's move on. We have Trevor McKnight here. Hunter Henry or TJ Hawkinson. He also said in a later comment that it's PPR, full PPR. Yeah, TJ is likely to play. Like I guess his concern is the injury. He had a knee injury,
right,
and was limited. But I think if he's playing, well, I think Nick said this in the last crunch time. If an NFL player is playing, you assume he is ready to go 100%. So you don't, unless they clearly said he's going to be limited. You assume he's playing a full role. And in this case, TJ Hawkinson is miles ahead of Hunter Henry. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, full PPR, standard, half PPR, tight end premium. It's yep. Hawkinson all day there. Yep. The knee injury obviously has a bit of concern, I guess, but almost everybody on the Lions offense came out with an injury designation this week. So, and they're all expected to play. So, and none of them have been said to have a limited role. So yeah, I'm still going to roll with Hawkinson with a lot of confidence here.
I agree. So there you go, Trevor. It's Hawkinson for both of us. All right. So again, Twitter people, if you're watching, go on YouTube so you can ask us questions. Everything you can think of, start, sit. We're ready to answer. All right. You're welcome, Trevor. Good luck with that. Hopefully you win your lineup. Hopefully it works out. But anyway, while we wait for more questions, let's talk about your sleepers this week. I want to talk about who are your sleepers or your sleeper this week.
Well, we got for Brodo, we do a rotation of positions. So this week it was my tight end edition. The second one that I've done this year. The first one didn't work out so well, admittedly. But yeah, this week for my sleeper, I got Ty Conklin in there. That's the guy that I think you can grab off waivers as a streamer, and he can put up on that precipice of tight end 1 or high tight end 2 volume. The targets have been there. The efficiency has been wavering. Like, get 6 targets for 29 yards or what have you is not the most encouraging in the last game, but they couldn't move the ball at all. And in the game before, he was heavily utilized in the pass game and starting to overtake KJ Osborne as that third option behind Thielen and Jefferson. Finally. So yeah. So Conklin looks like the guy that you want off the waivers for tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, if you lost Kittle this week unexpectedly, go pick up Tyler Conklin. He's likely available. So that's the Matt guarantee sleeper. So plug him in. Right, we have a huge question coming off a long shift and he needs sleep, but Matt has a question first. And he says, Dalvin Cook in my lineup. I got to sleep and miss a start time. Do I keep Cook or put Pirine in?
Wow.
Oof, that's tough. Let me tell you what I think here. I don't trust Cook, but I do not trust Pirine over Cook. If you had any other options, maybe I'd consider it, but not Pirine, man. What about you?
Yeah, I agree there. Even with he has been said to be limited, and I know that injury is concerning, but I'm still going to have to roll with Cooks just based on maybe a couple receptions and a touchdown. In fact, I prefer Chris Evans on the Bengals as the handcuff to Joe Mixon. He's shown everything to be the better player. He's got great breakaway speed, great vision. He can catch the ball. So I like Chris Evans. I think he's more of a stash type of player. Like Pirine will get the early down work, but if Chris Evans can get the hot hand and Joe Mixon remains or increases the injury or is out for multiple weeks, I think Chris Evans could become a legitimate, flex upside.
Yeah, but I think the problem this week is that Mixon will be playing, even if he's limited. He's taking away most of the carries, maybe some of the targets, so it renders Chris Evans and Pirine both pretty much useless. So, he just commented that he has James Conner. Absolutely go with Conner.
Absolutely,
here.
Yeah.
We were talking 100%. About earlier, like
I did the same thing. Yeah.
So yeah, you're in the same boat as Matt. Like
Yeah.
both Matts as well. So he said Cook for Connor. Yeah, so good luck with that. Get some sleep, my guy. You earned it. So plug in Connor and hope for the best. That's our advice. Now let's go. Big Will has another question here. Half PPR, flex one, Juju, Ayuk, whichever I don't start in my wide receiver three. Yep, yeah. This follow up. Then Mitchell, McKissick, or Gainwell.
One in flex.
I would probably just maybe roll with the Juju Ayuk combo. Oh, just quick question. Breaking news. Nick just told us Cook is not expected to play. So yeah, Matt, if you're still around, don't start Cook. Like, well, we told you already, but just as an extra piece of information.
That also increases Madison's upside
Yep, for sure.
substantially. Yeah.
All right, back to this. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm still pretty like boorish on the Washington backfield, especially against New Orleans. So McKissick's going to be a no for me this week. Man, Kenny Gainwell's really starting to make a name. I'm not confident enough to put Gainwell into my starting lineups over those two other options, though.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really, I guess, all I can say on that. But man, I really like Kenneth Gainwell at this point in time.
So who's your one pick, number one? So I'm pretty sure we need to pick one out of all those guys.
Yeah, I think we still roll with that Juju or Ayuk combo, depending on what you decide. And my Ayuk bias is just keeping me around for one more week there.
Yeah. And I mean, if I'm understanding this correctly, he can start both, one in the wide receiver 3 and one in the flex. So I think that's best
right,
of both
that's
worlds.
Exactly. That's what yeah. That Juju Ayuk combo is nice.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so there you go. Well, good luck with this week. Back to sleepers and bust. Let me talk a little bit about my bust, because my sleeper is no longer relevant because he is playing right now and not doing very well from what I've seen. So this is the jury's still out. But anyway, my bust this week was, I am blanking on who. It's Odell Beckham Jr. I know the prospect of having a somewhat healthy OBJ just back in your lineup is interesting. Might not be the most popular option, but you kind of remember all those golden years and whatever. But don't start him this week. Baker Mayfield is injured. They're playing a very good Chargers defense. It's going to be a bad time for all of that Cleveland receiving core. So OBJ, he's my bust this week, and so I would recommend you do not start OBJ. Now, remember, if you are watching on Twitter and you want to ask your start state questions, you have to join the YouTube live stream. I left a comment below the Twitter live stream with a link to YouTube, so you can click on it and ask your questions. For now, let's move on to a question from Shiz. Madison, Lat Murray, or Devonte, pick 2 PPR. What do you think?
I thought that's pretty easy for me. Madison and Devonte Williams. Yeah,
I agree.
I will never start Latavius Murray ever,
especially in PPR. I mean,
yeah. I mean, he's not gonna. He's just such a plotter, man. And actually, I do kind of like the defensive matchup for Murray this week, but I'm not into starting him over either one of those options, especially since Nick Bick just broke that Cook news for us. Like, Madison's upside is legit, and I like Javonte over Melvin Gordon this week even.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think we've seen a transition recently from Melgo taking the bulk of the work to Javonte. I mean, it's being slower than most people wanted, but I think we're seeing that trend. So yeah, I agree. And Lat Murray, maybe I would start in standard, but PPR for sure, Madison and Javonte.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go, Shiz. That's our final answer.
I think the Javonte and Mel Gordon situation's pretty interesting, actually. Like, yeah, it's been very even. Like, I think it's almost like, I think they're 8 touches apart, maybe 9 now on the season, in favor of Melgo, actually.
Yeah.
But this is also not something that you often see with like a rookie running back coming in with an established veteran that is still putting up big production, and to have them have in a completely even split. Like that was never going to be the case with Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor until Mack went down. That wasn't the case with
Yeah,
J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram. Like you don't usually see it until the second half of the season anyway. So the fact that Devonte has stepped in to taking exactly half of the amount of all snaps, I think that's huge.
that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that. I was just assuming like the natural rookie running back transition, but yeah, you're right. It's happening like super early, so he's more of a buy low candidate, kind of. All right, so you're welcome. Good luck with your matchup, man. Hopefully, our answers were on point. Anyway, why don't you tell us a little bit about your bust or busts this week?
Yeah,
I
I
know
do
you
have
had a
two.
couple.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to project the tight end usage in Philadelphia, so I'm just going to pick both of them. Like I'm just out on the Philly tight ends, whether it be Goddard or Ertz, whoever you favor. And I mean, Ertz has actually been seeing more targets over the past 2 games, but Goddard still has more snaps. So whatever they favor or whoever tight end they favor today is the one that I'm picking to bust, and obviously the other one will bust naturally because
Yeah,
yeah, they don't seem to really be able to coincide together, but if you've been trading back to back weeks of solid enough production to warrant starts in your lineup, I think Goddard's tight end 9 in PPR and Ertz is tight end 14. I don't trust either one of them against Carolina. Carolina's allowed less than 8 points per game to the tight end position on the season, and that defense is for real.
yeah, I agree 100%. And so yeah, whoever is the best is still gonna bust.
Yeah.
What you're saying? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
agree
then by default, the secondary option isn't going to be getting enough volume, whoever they decide to favor in the matchup, to
for sure.
warrant a stream or a start. And I know a lot, like Zach Ertz rostership went up something like 28% on sleeper redraft leagues this week. So like people are obviously
Interesting.
interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were one of those that picked him up, don't
Yeah.
get yourself
It
like
might
Tyler
not be the
Conklin.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not the week for that. So if you still want to hold on, keep them on the bench, like maybe you're trying to replace Kittle or something like that, go pick up Tyler Conklin instead. Matt's certified sleeper this week. So I think that's a better option. Shiz just commented that Joe Mixon is active. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. I think that's the worst situation possible because it makes Mixon not really startable, but also Pirine not startable at all. So yeah, it just muddies the water and makes the situation even worse for everyone, I think.
Yeah, and I guess it just broke as well. If I'm looking at that correctly, Sutton is going to play today.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm not sure how serious of an injury it was. They only listed it as a rolled ankle. Like there was no grade to
Yeah.
the sprain and no MRI was done. So it's kind of one of those things where, especially with the way that Sutton's been playing, you might be giving yourself an extra excuse not to play him anyway.
Yeah, especially now that they are transitioning quarterbacks might be good, but also we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty there. So if you can stay away from Sutton, I would say. But yeah, we have a follow-up question from Charles saying Debo or Madison now that Cook is officially out. Oof. This is a tough one, not gonna lie. Probably would roll with Madison, depending on the rest of your team. If you need like a solid floor home run hitter, because Debo could put up one catch for 27 yards or seven for 130. So he's very boom bust. While I think Madison will give you as mediocre as he can be, at least 7, 8 points. And I don't remember which type of scoring this was. Let me check. Full PPR. So,
Well,
what are your thoughts here?
yeah, I mean, as good as I feel about like rolling Lance out in a few lineups and Ayuk, I feel good about Debo this week as well. But I think it depends on kind of what you're looking for in your lineup, like you said. Like Madison does provide a safer floor, especially with Cook out. We know exactly what his role is at all times in that Minnesota offense when Cook isn't there. And he's the bell cow. Like they don't put anybody else out on the field. He's the guy that'll play 88% of snaps when
Yes.
Cook is out. We have no idea what Debo looks like with Trey Lance under center.
Yeah.
And it's just, and as far as like, I mean, I know it's a lot, pretty far back, but as far as preseason reports were saying, is it was Ayuk that was heavily favored as the target when Lance was in practice and
True.
under center. So I'm not sure if that's going to transition into regular season games or if, like, you know, targets are earned, right? So if Debo's open, he'll get targets. But again, with the amount of injuries that team has, and yeah, I think the Cardinals defense is definitely more than capable enough to being able to focus in on Debo and shut him down. Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely a preference thing, I guess. If you want a safer floor, it's Madison. Debo has undeniably the higher ceiling. He's wide receiver
For
3
sure.
on the season.
For sure.
Yeah.
If it were me personally, without looking at the rest of the team, I would go Madison. If you, for some reason, got off to a very like your opponent got a very big lead with Thursday night football, maybe go Debo just to try and get that home run
Right.
chance. But if not, just normal situation, go with Madison, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree there. It's kind of comes down to risk management at that point with those two players, and Debo presents a lot more risk this week.
Absolutely, I agree. Hey, good luck, Charles. Hopefully it works out.
Cheers,
For
brother.
the next question, we got Big Whale again. And he says, looks like Sutton is playing. Are you comfortable putting him in that wide receiver 3 slot? I'm going to tell you right now, probably not. I would still rather go with Juju and Ayuk, both wide receiver 3 and flex, than starting in Sutton over one of those. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'll have to agree with you on that one. Yeah, I mean, I guess Alberto is out as well. Not that he's been getting a ton of targets, but Sutton kind of leaves him and Fant to be the only deep threat pass catching options. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a weird defensive game for both teams. There's going to be a lot of running against the Steelers, even though they're not going to be able to put up a lot of points. I think I like keeping Sutton on the bench.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, well, there you go. That's your answer. Keep Sutton on the bench. Do not flip the coin. Just start both of Juju and Ayuk. And hopefully Ayuk does not burn us again. Okay, so now we go Mitchell. He says he's depressed because he started Collins Thursday not knowing Cook would be out. Oof, now Madison is riding the bench. That's tough, let me tell you. I never really got the Collins love. I always I said in the Patreon Discord for the Broto members, I was projecting 15 carries for 67 yards and a couple receptions for 20 yards, and he pretty much did that. Like he even scored less points that I had him for. I did not like Collins. I wouldn't have told you to start Collins on Thursday. Anyway, what's done is done. Hopefully your team is full of home run hitters that can take you to the next level. So good luck with that, man.
Hopefully you got some open flex spots for Sunday still, brother.
Oh yeah, hopefully you didn't start Collins in your flex spot. I didn't start any Thursday players in my flex, but I did start many London guys in my flex. Like I have Crowder and Davis.
Oh, me too.
Man, it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, I got to just start learning to fade those London games. They're so unpredictable. I mean, I probably actually should have seen Atlanta dominating, but at least figured Zach Wilson started to look. It felt like in that fourth quarter last week, he started to look like he kind of just figured it out. Like it was like, oh, this is how you play football again. And now he's back to not really understanding how to play the game.
Yeah, not even that, but I just wake up and I cannot plug in like a Madison type into my flex spot because it's blocked off by Jameson Crowder, who could have been in a wide receiver spot. So yeah, just something else to keep an eye out. So not only Thursday night players, but also London players in your flex are bad. That's too bad. But well, good luck, Mitchell. Let's go with Tristan. Has to start to Madison, James Robinson, or Damian Williams full PPR. Wow, this is interesting. I'm gonna tell you. What do you think here?
I'm gonna roll with, well, now with the Cook news, I'm gonna roll with Madison and James Robinson here, I think.
Okay, just fading
Yeah.
Damien completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, just based on like previous production, Robinson's role is established. He's back to that volume that we all made jokes about him not being able to
Yeah, for
maintain.
sure.
Like
Yep.
James Robinson is just he's seeing his usage percentage up in the 80s again, and it's getting, to that point where Robinson's going to finish as an RB1 again with this type of usage. And there's
Yep.
like, that's just a fact. And the Jaguars don't really have another option to keep Trevor Lawrence safe because their O-line's so bad other than running the ball.
That's true for sure. And I mean, we've saw the Titans defense look absolutely horrible last
Right.
week. So if they can keep the game at least competitive, and James Robinson gets a positive game script, he might produce at a higher level. I think you convinced me first of all. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Madison and Robinson. I do love Damon Williams's
Me too.
upside. I had him like highly ranked in the offseason as well because I think he's a capable running back and one of the better backups in the league. Now that Montgomery is out, he's gonna have a few decent weeks. But for now, it's Madison and Robinson. I have to agree.
Yeah.
So there you go, Tristan. Good luck with that. It's a very tough decision, not gonna lie, but hopefully it works out. All right, so we got Big Will again. He's saying it's gonna be both Juju and IU combo for wide receiver 3 and flex. Good luck with that, man. I mean, I would do the same, but I
Yeah.
would
I
not
mean,
be extremely calm about it. Like it is
yeah,
still nerve wracking.
it's definitely a very tough lineup. But I mean, if it helps, yeah, I would only give you the advice that I would do myself as well, and I certainly wouldn't feel any more comfortable
Absolutely.
with any of the other options like that. That's kind of just one of those risk management things there for me as well.
Yeah, for sure. You have to know when to take risks and when to not. And I think the potential of an IU game or a Juju game is higher than a Cortland Sun game. With do we know who's playing QB this week? Is it confirmed to be Drew Lock?
I actually don't know. No, I think so. Yeah. I'm gonna look
Teddy
that one up
Bridgewater,
real
it's
quick.
questionable. He did log in a full practice.
Practice.
Yeah, but it's still muddy
I thought
waters there.
as far as I saw, it was a game time decision, and with a concussion, that's never really like with soft tissue. Game time decision is like basically like as long as they don't tweak something in practice, he's going to be good to go. With a concussion, a game time decision is like, oh well, there you go, he cleared protocol.
Yeah, we have our correspondent here. Just
Thanks, Vic. Appreciate you,
we
brother.
got the plug. Yeah, he cleared protocol, but still, do you want a recently concussed QB with a broken, I mean, a sprained ankle or rolled ankle, Cortland Sutton? Not really. So I'm still not trusting him, honestly.
Yeah, and I think the other options were like Elijah Mitchell and JD McKissick, and that's I just can't
And
feel
then
it. I
Gainwell
and yeah.
for
That's
sure.
that's
Yeah,
tough. They're all of them have an increasing amount of risk going into these matchups, but those are the ones that I feel most comfortable with the highest ceilings.
I have to agree 100% there. I've convinced myself that we made the right decision there. So
I think so. I'm still a little nervous about it for him as well, so I'll be sweating that one with you, brother.
there you go. But yeah, I think Kittle being out is the final straw that for me and start Ayuk. All right. So again, one last reminder: if you are watching on Twitter, go on the YouTube live stream so we can see your questions. We can answer your questions. I left a link as a first comment on Twitter where you can just click and get to the YouTube live stream immediately. For now, I want to talk about a little bit of one of the new things coming to the Broto Patron. I talked about it in an article. This is public. You can check it out in brotofantasy.com. I made a model that takes future Vegas odds, like the entire season, to generate power rankings with the spread lines. And after you get these power rankings, I simulate the NFL thousands and thousands of times, so you get more accurate results on games and the likely outcomes. And this gives me like a percentage of what's the most likely outcome. And actually, that has gotten me uh results better than Vegas. So I have been beating Vegas recently. And one of the patron perks now is that I give you some of these picks that the model outputs, so you can plug them in your parlays or your betting, everything you need. Like I give you some spreads, some money lines, some that qualify for both. So if you're interested in that, join the Patreon. I think it's for the $10 and $15 tiers. That's the new thing. um I actually had the Falcons at 60% today, and by what I'm looking at, it's looking pretty nice. So that's a good sign for this week. I have beat Vegas 3 out of the past 4 weeks, so that's also a good sign. That's the patron plug for the episode.
Yeah, that's one of the most intriguing and interesting articles I've ever read. It's pretty. You guys should check it out. That's what I gotta say. Yeah.
It's honestly one of the most fun I've had, not only in an article, but like a whole project, because I got to use these fairly simple math techniques and concepts to get this going. And I'm a math major. I'm studying applied maths right now. So all of this it's honestly very fun for me. Just outside of the results, it's fun to do. So just read it. I had a lot of fun writing it. I had a lot of fun just working on the project. And now it actually has good results and something that could win you money. So go check it out and join the Patreon if you're so inclined to do so. All right. So we have 10 minutes left, give or take, for your questions. If you have questions, we're going to be here for 10 to 13 more minutes. So send them in right now. Anyone you want to talk about right now? Maybe a sneaky play, or you're staying away. Maybe not sleeper bust, but like a fade or a target.
Um. Yeah. Well, actually, like this is somewhat interesting. Not that there was any doubt about it, but I kind of wanted to get your opinions on this player. Like,
Sure.
CMC is officially out. Again, not that there was like much question about it, but how do you feel? Like, do you feel confident rolling Chuba out this week?
I think it's very team dependent. I don't love it because I don't love what I've seen from him in general. So if you're start for a running back, maybe if you have like a decision to start Chuba or Ronald Jones, I would definitely go Chuba in that scenario.
Right.
But just in general, standalone, it's not someone I'm targeting actively to start. So I'm not a fan, basically. What are your
Fair.
thoughts here?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I'm at as well. But I mean, I'm the way that the Eagles defense have been playing against the rush game, I kind of like I'm a lot more intrigued. But that last performance, like the volume wasn't there, nor was the efficiency. And
Yep.
everybody assumed, because we saw it last year with Mike Davis, that if CMC is not on the field, like everything's just going to be funneled into whoever the other running back is.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that just wasn't the case with Chuba. So that makes it really interesting for me as well. Like I don't have the utmost confidence in rolling them out as like an RB2 if you had a James Conner, Chase Edmonds, Devonte Williams, Jamal Williams level player in that RB2 or flex spot. I wouldn't feel confident rolling them out over there. But there's probably a few flexes that I'm going to gamble on them now. Like I think there's obviously some legitimate upside, but without seeing the volume, it's very strange. I don't really. Yeah, I projected him to get 15 carries and 5, 6 targets, and that just didn't happen.
And that's like a bare minimum for a RB2 performance. I mean,
Right,
we saw Alex Collins get that volume, and he was not good with it. So it's not a guarantee, but it's a bare minimum. And if he's not even getting that, it is something to be concerned about, I think.
right. Yeah, so again, there's probably a few spots that I'm going to gamble on Chuba, but I won't like I wouldn't advise starting him over like all of the other
For
options
sure.
that are being projected around the same amount of points, that like 12, 10, 13 point range.
Yeah. I mean, I have a question for you now, though. you're the tight end whisperer for the week. Well, what are your thoughts on Evan Ingram?
Oh, I'm fading Evan Ingram this week for sure. Um, Even with like the amount of injuries, I think again, like we talked about Daniel Jones over Justin Fields, and I don't necessarily think the passing touchdowns are going to be there. He's not getting the volume. He's not being efficient, especially in like PPR leagues. He has a little more upside if he does see that volume. But I don't see him scoring this week, and that's kind of the like breaking point that you need to be a tight end one now. You have to score a touchdown. Like that's kind of, or see Travis Kelce level targets and yards.
Yeah, that's true.
So
And
if you're not projecting a touchdown for Evan Ingram this week, then he's not in like he shouldn't be in your starting lineups. If you think he's going to score a touchdown, then by all means, I guess you can slot him in there. But no,
yeah, a touchdown is what makes the difference between the tight end 12 and the tight end 5. So
right,
if you're projecting a touchdown, he's probably going to be a tight end, a top 5 tight end, maybe top 4. Top 3 is pretty locked up most of the time, so might not crack that. But yeah, touchdown is a difference maker. And we already saw what Ingram can do without Slayton and Shepard in the
right.
game. And it wasn't outstanding. So I don't know, man. He was one of my favorite players in the offseason to just target late and get a late round tight end because we've seen that he can be decent, at least get a bunch of targets, but it just hasn't been the case recently. And that's kind of sad, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I agree. He's one of those players that every single year I want to take a shot on him. Like, especially like his ADP keeps falling every single year, and it keeps giving me that extra excuse to be like, yeah, no, this is the year. Look at that value.
Yeah, for sure.
But it just, yeah, Evan Ingram's a phenomenal talent, but he's never had it click, and he's never had it click for succession because he's had troubles with injuries, and he's had changing coaches, changing developing quarterbacks. So yeah, it's one of those things that it's definitely a disappointment when you look at the ability that the players had in standalone games, but it's impossible to trust them on a week to week basis.
Yeah. I mean, you're a dynasty guy. What do you think in dynasty? Maybe you have like a tight end premium league. You have him riding your bench. Are you just still keeping hope, hoping for
He's
a
he's one of
success?
those. Yeah, I mean, not that they're the same tier of player, but he's like the same way that I feel about like kind of like Irv Smith Jr. I know that there's an
Mhm.
injury there, but even before that, it's like you're either holding or you're selling for too low. Like because nobody's going to pay
True.
you
True.
the assumed value that either one of them have when those breakout games string together. But then again, neither one of them have shown. So it's one of those situations with those particular players where if you're rostering them, you're probably valuing them more than everybody else already.
Yeah,
So the hold is where the value is going to return. Otherwise, you hold until that value meets what everybody else's expectations are, and then you make the trade.
yeah. I mean, you can't trade, but you also can't drop, and it's a very tough
Right.
situation. It's one of those roster cloggers for dynasty, and I mean, you're an expert in dynasty here. You're the resident Brodo dynasty expert, so
Yeah, and
you summed
that's
it up
kind of the
perfectly.
yeah, that's kind of just the situation with players that are in that tier of, especially for tight ends in dynasty, because their breakout age is such a there's
Yeah,
Max Williams is in his 7th year and he's a tight end one, and everybody wants to buy him right now.
yeah,
Right. So like, and that's just like, that's going to happen with a lot of tight ends in the NFL. They're going to take 4 or 5 years until they're actually utilized in the offense as a fixture. And then they could show like the breakout talent because it's such a complex position, and it takes so much more subtlety of learning two different schemes. You're an offensive lineman and a receiver
yeah,
and a
yeah,
fullback. And, so yeah, so those late breakout ages still give guys like Evan Ingram, like there's still a chance. There is legitimately still a chance. We've seen it before with late tight end breakouts, and you could still get a year or two of solid production in dynasty, especially in tight end premium. But it's hard to justify that hold for that long when you've been holding this long.
for sure. We got another question from Big Will, and it's a doozy. Um, Let's get it. It's one of the Broto leagues, so you know it's gonna be competitive. He needs to start
Oh
two
yeah.
running backs: Gainwell, Devonte, and Sermon. Oof.
Wow.
Let me tell you right now, I'm looking at Javante as a lock. I'm pretty sure you are too.
Yep. Yep.
And so the question is
The other
Gainwell
one's
or
tougher.
Sermon?
Yeah, the other one's a lot tougher.
I'm going Gainwell. Like, just Sermon has been a fate of mine since the drafts were happening. I'm not a fan. I'm also not a fan of Kyle Shanahan and his running back usage. Now that Elijah Mitchell is back in the picture, even less. So for me, it's going to be Gainwell and Javante just because I don't trust Sermon.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to roll with the same answer there as well. Gainwell and Devonte Williams. I also was very, very off Sermon the entire, especially in rookie drafts and dynasty. Like he was going 112, 2-1
Yeah, it's
in
crazy. It's crazy.
super flex leagues, and I mean like you could draft Rondale Moore, Terrace Marshall, Elijah, all of those guys immediately after that. Rashad Bateman, like all of those guys immediately after that, and I just
For
thought
sure.
that was madness. People overvalue running backs way too much in startup drafts. Michael Carter was going in the same spot too, which was maddening. But yeah,
Yeah.
people value running backs way too much in rookie drafts, rather not startups. But yeah, so I mean
I mean, both
that's
probably.
well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's neither here nor there for the question. But yeah, Sermon's been a fade for me since week one, and
For
unless he
sure.
gets, which is never going to really happen in a Shanahan backfields, but unless he gets 3 down bell cow workload, like I'm not interested.
I mean, the problem with the Shanahan backfield is that he does have a 3 down bell cow player, but it's different every single week. So you could get
Right.
a Mostert week, then a Wilson week, then a Sermon week, and then a Juszczyk week, just all back to back to back, and you never know who to start. So it's just it's a mess. That's why I'm staying off, and I've never been a fan of Sermon's talent either. So talent plus situation, both not great. It's just not good for me. So there you go, Will. It's Javante and Gainwell for both of us.
Yeah.
And got actually less than 5 minutes left, more like 3 minutes left. So if you have one last question, if you're on Twitter, go on the YouTube live stream to ask your question. Is probably we got time for one, maybe two questions, depending on how difficult they are. But yeah, this is going great. One more piece of breaking news is that a beat reporter told us that Joe Mixon will get pretty much his normal workload. Like that those are his words. He'll get pretty darn close to his normal workload, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I'm just seeing that as well right now. Yeah. As well, Teddy is in at quarterback for the Broncos officially.
Doesn't change my outlook on
I
Sutton,
actually
to
think
be
that kind
honest.
of reduces Sutton's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I still stand by what we saw in preseason and what we felt. I mean, and it kind of has shown. He did have the one big game in week one, but it was always Teddy's going to be better for Jerry Jeudy and the running backs, and Drew Lock's going to be better for Sutton. And the efficiency of the team is probably going to be better under Teddy.
yeah.
And that's
Teddy has not
that's what
been
we're
bad,
seeing. No,
not
that's
bad at all.
and no, he's not going to. He has had a few more than we're used to seeing, but he's not going to chuck it deep 5 times a game. Like we know that that's not going to happen. Locke will, which is obviously going to benefit Sutton's like
Yeah,
straight 9 route tree that he wants to run 57% of the season.
for sure, for sure.
So yeah,
But yeah, those situations. I mean, doesn't change. I mean, it downgrades Sutton,
right, that exactly. Yeah,
and
it doesn't change the lineups as much, but it definitely does make it a little more of an easier decision for me.
the other one does make me consider starting Mixon in a couple places. I really don't want to, but it's oh man, it's so tough. It's really so tough. We never know with that guy, especially injured. I'm
Right.
probably still staying away because yes, he is expected to get his full workload, but if he retweaks his injury, he's out for the rest of the game. Could happen in the first quarter, could happen at the very end of the game. You never know. It's a big gamble, depending on what your team needs. If you need to catch up, and are hoping for a couple Mixon TDs, sure. If not, and you have a decent backup option, like maybe Connor or
Right.
who else do I like this week? Jamal Williams, just like a mid-tier RB2 guy or lower RB2 guy. Those are the guys that I have around Mixon right now, probably like RB 20, 25.
Yeah, I would agree there. I mean, I'm still just as worried about Mixon regardless of the volume. I mean, he's
Yep.
had huge volume and put up RB 17 weeks. So
Oh, at best.
at best, exactly. Yeah. So it's always been a gamble with Mixon. People know that. People are starting to understand that, and people are accepting that now. Is it's always going to be a gamble with Mixon, and that is what you bought into. You bought into a ridiculous amount of volume for 7 touchdowns a year.
Yeah. You know that already if you haven't.
Right.
But anyway, that's all our time. Thank you so much for joining me. And we're leaving on this nice little comment left by Nick. We are RB1 and RB2 overall.
I'm RB2.
Appreciate
I
you,
know
Nick.
that.
You're too kind. You're too kind. But thank you, Nick. We appreciate you. You've been great. Been a great co-host, man. Look
Oh,
forward to
cheers, man.
having you
So much
in
fun.
the future. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
just so much fun talking fantasy with you, man.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Anyway, hope everyone has great matchups. Hope all of you win. Good luck to all, and we say goodbye.